Welcome to this journey of one of the most disturbing cases in recorded history of Appalachia. Before we begin, I invite you to leave a comment about where you're watching from and the exact time you heard this story. We're interested in knowing where and at what times of day or night these documented accounts arrive. The autumn of 1888 in the remote valleys of Pocahontas County, West Virginia, brought an unusual stillness to the mountain hollows. Local weather records from that period, preserved in the National Archives, document an extended period of calm that residents described as unnaturally quiet, even by the standards of the isolated mountain communities. Among the scattered homesteads that dotted this rugged terrain stood the Valethorn property, a substantial timber and stone dwelling situated approximately 18 miles from the nearest settlement of Huntersville, accessible only by a winding mountain trail that few travelers attempted without local guidance. The Valethorn family had established themselves in this remote location in 1871, when Zachariah Valethorn, then 42 years old, purchased nearly 1,500 acres of forested mountainside from the state for what land office records indicate was a surprisingly modest transaction. Zachariah had arrived from Pennsylvania with his wife Isadora, 36, and their adult daughter Serafina, 19, following what family correspondence suggests was some form of business reversal that necessitated their relocation to this isolated mountain valley. The house itself was remarkable for its construction and design, representing a level of craftsmanship and investment that seemed inconsistent with the family's apparent circumstances upon their arrival in West Virginia. Built from locally quarried stone and carefully selected timber, the structure featured thick walls, unusually small windows, and what local builders noted was an uncommonly deep foundation that extended well into the rocky mountainside. The design incorporated several features that residents found curious, including multiple entrances, an extensive network of interior chambers, and what appeared to be specialized ventilation systems built into the walls. Contemporary accounts from the Huntersville Weekly Herald, found in the West Virginia Historical Society archives, describe the Valethorn House as one of the most substantial private residences constructed in the county during the 1870s. The newspaper noted that the building process had required the services of specialized craftsmen brought from outside the region and had involved the importation of materials and architectural elements that were unusual for mountain construction of that era. Local residents who worked on the construction project later recalled that Zachariah Valethorn had very specific requirements for certain aspects of the building, particularly regarding the foundation and interior layout. Workers were reportedly required to sign agreements pledging discretion about the details of their work, and different crews were employed for different phases of construction, so that no single group of workers was familiar with the complete design of the building. The construction process extended over nearly 2 years, far longer than would typically be required for even a substantial residence. This extended timeline was attributed to the complexity of the design and the challenges of working in such a remote location, but some workers later suggested that delays had been caused by Zachariah's insistence on modifications and additions that required specialized techniques and materials. By 1888, the Valethorn household consisted of Zachariah, now 59, his wife Isadora, 53, and Serafina, who had remained unmarried and lived with her parents throughout the 17 years since their arrival. Unlike many mountain families who struggled to maintain subsistence-level existence, the Valethorns appeared to prosper quietly, maintaining well-kept grounds, quality livestock, and what neighbors observed to be a comfortable lifestyle, though the source of their apparent prosperity remained unclear to the local community. The Valethorn family's interactions with their neighbors were cordial but limited. They participated occasionally in community events such as harvest gatherings and church services, but they maintained a reserved demeanor that discouraged casual social contact. Zachariah was known to be well educated and knowledgeable about business matters, often providing advice to neighbors about market conditions and commercial opportunities, though he rarely discussed his own business activities in detail. Isadora Valethorn was remembered by contemporary residents as an elegant woman who seemed more suited to urban society than mountain life. Yet she appeared to have adapted well to their isolated circumstances. She was known for her skill in needlework and her knowledge of medicinal plants, often providing assistance to neighbors who required help with health problems or domestic challenges. Seraphina Valethorn was described by those who knew her as an intelligent and well-educated young woman who seemed content with her unmarried status and her life in the mountain valley. She was known to maintain extensive correspondence with individuals in various cities, and neighbors occasionally observed her receiving and sending substantial amounts of mail through the irregular postal service that reached their remote area. The events that would make the Valethorn name synonymous with one of West Virginia's most persistent mysteries began to unfold in late October 1888, though the first indications that something unusual was occurring at the mountain property were so subtle that their significance was not recognized until much later. According to testimony later provided to county authorities, several residents of the sparsely populated valley reported noticing changes in the patterns of smoke rising from the Valethorn chimney, the sounds carrying from their property during evening hours, and what one neighbor described as an alteration in the very atmosphere surrounding their homestead. Benjamin Thornwick, a farmer whose property was located approximately 2 miles from the Valethorn homestead, later told investigators that he had begun noticing unusual activities at the Valethorn property sometime in mid-October. In his statement to authorities, preserved in Pocahontas County records, Thornwick described observing lights moving about the Valethorn property at unusual hours and hearing sounds that seemed inconsistent with normal household activities. Thornwick reported that on several occasions during October, he had observed what appeared to be multiple individuals moving about the Valethorn property during the hours between midnight and dawn. These observations were made from a ridge that provided a distant but clear view of the Valethorn homestead, and while Thornwick could not identify the specific individuals involved, he was certain that the level of activity was far beyond what would be expected from the 3 family members who were known to reside there. More concerning to Thornwick was his observation of what appeared to be systematic activities involving the movement of materials to and from various outbuildings on the Valethorn property. These activities occurred according to what seemed to be carefully planned schedules, with different types of movements occurring on different days and at different times. The precision and coordination of these activities suggested that they were part of some organized operation rather than routine household tasks. Joshua Ravencrest, a trapper who maintained cabins throughout the region, later told investigators that he had begun avoiding the trail that passed near the Valethorn property sometime in mid-October, though he initially attributed his reluctance to proceed along that route to nothing more than a vague sense of unease. In his statement to authorities, preserved in county records, Ravencrest described feeling increasingly uncomfortable when approaching the area, experiencing what he characterized as a persistent sensation of being observed, though he never saw anyone watching him. Ravencrest's discomfort with the area around the Valethorn property had developed gradually over a period of several weeks. Initially, he had noticed only minor changes in the wildlife patterns in the area, with fewer birds and small animals visible during his travels along the mountain trails. This change in wildlife behavior had seemed curious, but not particularly significant at first. However, as October progressed, Ravencrest began to notice more substantial changes in the environment around the Valethorn property. The air seemed heavier and more oppressive, and sounds appeared to carry differently than they did in other parts of the mountain region. Most unsettling to Ravencrest was his observation that the normal sounds of the forest seemed to diminish significantly when he approached the area, creating an unnatural silence that he found deeply disturbing. More concrete signs that something was amiss emerged in early November, when Cornelius Blackthorne, a merchant who supplied goods to remote mountain families, arrived for his scheduled delivery to the Valethorne household and found the property apparently deserted. Blackthorne, who had been conducting regular business with the family for more than a decade, later described his growing concern as he spent several hours attempting to locate any member of the household. According to Blackthorne's detailed statement filed with County Sheriff Martin Ashcroft on November 12, 1888, the merchant found the main house securely locked and showing no signs of recent occupancy. The barn and outbuildings were similarly secured, with the family's horses and other livestock absent, though no evidence suggested they had been moved through conventional means. Most puzzling to Blackthorne was the discovery that personal belongings, including valuable items that would certainly have been taken if the family had planned an extended absence, remained undisturbed throughout the house. Blackthorne's examination of the property revealed several details that would prove significant to subsequent investigations. Fresh wood had been stacked beside the main house, suggesting recent preparation for winter heating, yet the fireplaces showed no evidence of recent use. Food storage areas contained ample provisions that would have sustained the family through the coming winter months, yet there were no signs that anyone had accessed these supplies for several days. The merchant's inspection of the exterior of the property revealed additional puzzling details. The family's wagon was missing from its usual location in the barn, but the harnesses and other equipment necessary for traveling long distances were left behind. More significantly, tracks in the soft earth around the barn area suggested that the horses had been led away rather than hitched to the wagon, and these tracks led toward the forest rather than toward any established road or trail. Perhaps most unsettling to Blackthorne was his discovery of what appeared to be a partially prepared meal in the kitchen, with place settings arranged for 3 people. The food showed signs of having been recently prepared but then abandoned before consumption, as if the family had been interrupted during their evening meal and had simply walked away, never to return. The precise arrangement of the table settings and the careful preparation evident in the meal suggested that this had been a planned dinner rather than a hurried or casual meal. Blackthorne also noted that throughout the house, personal items were arranged exactly as they would be during normal household routines. Clothing hung in wardrobes, books lay open on tables as if someone had been reading them, and various personal effects were positioned as they would be during active daily use. This careful arrangement of household items suggested that whatever had caused the family's departure had occurred suddenly and without warning. Following Blackthorne's report, Sheriff Ashcroft organized a search party consisting of local volunteers and traveled to the Valethorne property on November 15th to conduct a more thorough investigation. The sheriff's official report, preserved in county archives, documented a systematic examination of the premises that revealed additional puzzling details about the family's apparent disappearance. The search party's investigation confirmed Blackthorne's initial observations while uncovering several additional elements that deepened the mystery surrounding the family's fate. According to Sheriff Ashcroft's report, the house showed clear signs of normal habitation up to a specific point in time, after which all activity appeared to have ceased abruptly. Personal items were found exactly where they would have been left during routine daily activities, creating an impression that the family had simply vanished while engaged in ordinary household tasks. Sheriff Ashcroft's team conducted a room-by-room examination of the house that revealed the extent to which the family's daily routines had been interrupted. In Zachariah Valethorne's study, papers were scattered across the desk in a manner that suggested he had been engaged in correspondence or business activities when something had caused him to abandon his work suddenly. An inkwell remained open with fresh ink, and a pen lay beside partially completed writing that ended mid-sentence. In Isadora's sewing room, needlework was found partially completed, with the needle still threaded and positioned as if she had just set it down momentarily. The arrangement of materials around her workspace suggested that she had been engaged in a complex embroidery project that required careful attention and planning, making it unlikely that she would have abandoned it voluntarily without securing her work properly. Serafina's bedroom revealed evidence that she had been engaged in reading correspondence at the time of the family's disappearance. Several letters lay open on her writing desk, with writing materials arranged as if she had been preparing to respond to the correspondence. One letter appeared to have been partially written, with the pen lying across the unfinished page in a manner that suggested sudden interruption. The search party's examination of the property's outbuildings revealed additional evidence that normal activities had been interrupted suddenly. In the barn, tools were found arranged as if they had been recently used but not properly secured. Feed had been measured out for the livestock but not distributed, suggesting that the evening feeding routine had been begun but not completed. Most significantly, the search party discovered that the Valethorn house incorporated several unusual architectural features that had not been apparent to casual observers. Behind what appeared to be ordinary interior walls, the investigators found a network of concealed chambers and passages that extended throughout the structure and into the mountainside beyond the foundation. These hidden spaces appeared to have been designed and constructed with considerable skill and attention to detail. The concealed chambers were equipped with ventilation systems, lighting arrangements, and storage facilities that suggested they had been intended for extended occupation. Some chambers contained furnishings and supplies that indicated recent use, while others appeared to have been maintained in readiness for immediate occupancy. The discovery of these hidden areas within the Valethorn house prompted Sheriff Ashcroft to request assistance from state authorities, as the implications of such elaborate concealment suggested activities that extended beyond routine domestic arrangements. The sheriff's request for state intervention was approved, and in December 1888, a team of state investigators led by Captain Alexander Morrison arrived in Pocahontas County to conduct a more comprehensive examination of the Valethorn property and to investigate the family's apparent connections to business interests in other states. Captain Morrison's investigation team included specialists in document analysis, architectural assessment, and commercial fraud investigation. Their examination of the Valethorn property over several weeks yielded a detailed understanding of the family's activities and the sophisticated arrangements they had established in their mountain location. The state investigators' analysis of the concealed chambers within the house revealed that these spaces had been designed to serve specific functions related to the Valethorn family's business operations. Some chambers appeared to have been used for secure storage of valuable materials, while others showed evidence of having been equipped for specialized processing or preparation activities. The precision and sophistication of these facilities suggested that the family had been conducting operations that required careful control of environmental conditions and security arrangements. One of the most significant discoveries made by the state investigation team was a chamber located deep within the foundation of the house that contained an extensive collection of business records and correspondence. These documents, which had been carefully preserved in weather-resistant containers, provided the first comprehensive insight into the scope and nature of the Valethorn family's commercial activities. The documents revealed that Zachariah Valethorn had maintained regular correspondence with business associates located throughout the eastern United States, including individuals and organizations in major cities such as Philadelphia, Baltimore, Richmond, and Charleston. The volume and frequency of this correspondence indicated that the family had been involved in complex business relationships that required constant communication and coordination. Document analysis conducted by state investigators revealed that much of the correspondence found among Zachariah Valethorn's papers was written in coded language that obscured the specific nature of the business transactions being discussed. However, specialists working with the investigation team were able to decode significant portions of these communications, revealing evidence of a sophisticated commercial network that extended far beyond the geographical boundaries of West Virginia. The decoded correspondence indicated that the Valethorn property served as a collection, processing, and distribution center for materials that commanded substantial prices in specialized markets throughout the eastern states. While the exact nature of these materials was not immediately clear from the correspondence, financial records found in the same location indicated that the transactions involved enormous sums of money for that era. Payment records discovered during the investigation showed that the Valethorn family had been receiving regular payments from multiple sources, with individual transactions often involving hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The frequency and regularity of these payments indicated that the family had been operating a systematic commercial enterprise that generated substantial and consistent income over a period of many years. Financial documents found in the concealed chamber also revealed that the Valethorn family had accumulated considerable wealth during their 17 years in West Virginia. Bank deposits, investment accounts, and property holdings documented in various jurisdictions indicated assets worth more than $200,000, an enormous fortune for that era, particularly for a family living in such an isolated location. The source of this wealth appeared to be directly connected to the business operations conducted from their mountain property. Detailed accounting records showed careful tracking of income and expenses related to these operations, with profit margins that indicated an extremely lucrative enterprise. The sophisticated nature of these financial records suggested that the family possessed considerable business expertise and had been operating their enterprise with remarkable efficiency. Captain Morrison's investigation also uncovered evidence that the Valethorn family's November disappearance had been carefully planned well in advance. Hidden among the family's papers were detailed preparations for what the documents referred to as a transition to alternative arrangements. These preparations included complex financial maneuvers designed to transfer assets to new locations while maintaining the security and accessibility of the family's accumulated wealth. The investigation revealed that the family had been systematically liquidating certain assets and transferring others to secure locations throughout the summer and autumn of 1888. Property deeds, bank transfers, and shipping records indicated that substantial materials and resources had been moved from the West Virginia location to undisclosed destinations in the months preceding their disappearance. State investigators also discovered evidence that the Valethorns had been expecting their departure from West Virginia to coincide with similar movements by business associates in other locations. Correspondence indicated that other families or groups involved in related activities had been implementing their own transition plans during the same general time period, suggesting coordination among the various participants in their business network. The investigation team's examination of the property's concealed chambers yielded physical evidence that provided additional insights into the family's activities. Among the materials found in these hidden spaces were specialized tools and equipment whose purposes were not immediately apparent, but which appeared to be related to processing or preparation activities involving valuable materials. Analysis of this equipment by specialists consulted by the investigation team suggested that the Valethorn family had been engaged in sophisticated processing operations that transformed raw materials into finished products suitable for specific market applications. The precision and quality of the equipment indicated substantial investment in these operations and suggested that the family possessed considerable technical expertise in their chosen field of business. Also discovered were detailed records documenting the movement of various materials through the Valethorn property over a period of several years. These records maintained with meticulous precision, indicated that the family had been handling substantial quantities of materials that were received from various sources and then distributed to buyers in different locations. The clinical precision of these records suggested that the Velthorn family had been operating a sophisticated commercial enterprise that involved careful tracking of inventory, quality control procedures, and coordination with suppliers and buyers throughout a network spanning multiple states. The systematic nature of their record-keeping indicated that they had developed standardized procedures for all aspects of their business operations. The investigation also revealed that the concealed chambers within the Velthorn house had been designed with remarkable sophistication. Architectural analysis indicated that the hidden spaces had been integrated into the building's structure during the original construction process, suggesting that the family had planned their specialized operations from the very beginning of their residence in West Virginia. The ventilation systems serving the concealed chambers were particularly sophisticated, incorporating features that maintained precise temperature and humidity control throughout the year. This level of environmental control suggested that the materials being processed or stored required specific conditions to maintain their quality and value. Security arrangements for the concealed chambers were equally sophisticated, incorporating multiple locking mechanisms, alarm systems, and concealment features that would make detection extremely difficult even during detailed inspection of the property. The investment in these security measures indicated that the family was handling materials of exceptional value that required maximum protection. By January 1889, the state investigation had revealed that the Velthorn family had been part of a much larger commercial network involving families and individuals operating from remote locations throughout the Appalachian region. This network appeared to have been engaged in processing and distributing materials that commanded high prices in specialized markets, though the exact nature of these materials and markets remained partially unclear from the available evidence. Captain Morrison's analysis of the correspondence and business records found at the Velthorn property indicated that the family had been part of a highly organized commercial network that operated with remarkable coordination and efficiency. The network appeared to include dozens of families and individuals located throughout Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, and Maryland, all of whom were engaged in related business activities that contributed to a larger commercial enterprise. The investigation revealed that different components of this network specialized in different aspects of the overall operation. Some locations appeared to focus on the initial collection and preparation of materials, while others specialized in processing or finishing operations. Still others served as distribution centers that coordinated the movement of finished products to end users in various markets. The Velthorn property appeared to have served as a central coordination point for significant portions of this network, with Zachariah Velthorn functioning as a key organizer and administrator for the overall operation. Correspondence found at the property indicated that he had been responsible for coordinating activities among multiple locations and ensuring that the various components of the network operated in harmony. The sophistication of this coordination was remarkable for the 1880s, requiring complex communication systems, precise timing, and careful integration of activities across vast geographical distances. The success of this coordination suggested that the network had developed highly effective management structures and operational procedures that allowed it to function efficiently despite the challenges of 19th century transportation and communication. Financial analysis conducted by the state investigators revealed that the commercial network involving the Velthorn family had been generating profits on a scale that was unprecedented for rural enterprises of that era. Combined revenues from all components of the network appeared to exceed $1 million annually, making it one of the largest commercial operations in the region during the 1880s. The distribution of profits within this network appeared to be carefully structured, with different participants receiving compensation based on their roles and contributions to the overall operation. The Valethorn family's share of these profits had been substantial, reflecting their central role in coordinating and managing significant portions of the network's activities. The investigation also revealed that the network had been evolving and expanding throughout the 1880s, with new participants being added and new markets being developed on a regular basis. This growth had required continuous reinvestment in facilities, equipment, and personnel, as well as ongoing development of new techniques and procedures for processing and distributing materials. The management of this expansion and evolution had been handled with remarkable skill, suggesting that the network included individuals with sophisticated business and organizational expertise. The success of these expansion efforts had contributed to the network's ability to generate increasing profits throughout the decade, making it an extremely attractive enterprise for all participants. Captain Morrison's investigation also uncovered evidence that the network had been developing contingency plans for various scenarios that might require rapid changes in their operations. These plans included procedures for relocating activities to alternative locations, transferring assets and personnel, and establishing new operational arrangements in response to changing market conditions or external pressures. The November 1888 disappearance of the Valethorn family appeared to be the implementation of one of these contingency plans, triggered by factors that were not fully apparent from the available evidence, but which had necessitated immediate action to protect the network's operations and participants. The careful coordination evident in the family's departure suggested that similar contingency procedures had been implemented by other network participants during the same period. The state investigation continued through the spring of 1889, with investigators attempting to trace the movements of the Valethorn family and to identify other participants in their commercial network. However, the sophisticated planning evident in the network's contingency procedures made it extremely difficult to locate individuals who had implemented their relocation plans. Several possible sightings of Valethorn family members were reported in various locations throughout Virginia and Pennsylvania during the winter and spring of 1888-1889, but none of these reports could be confirmed definitively. The family appeared to have been successful in establishing new identities and locations that provided effective concealment from law enforcement inquiries. The investigation did succeed in identifying several other properties throughout the region that appeared to have been part of the same commercial network as the Valethorn operation. These properties shared architectural features and operational characteristics that suggested common planning and coordination, confirming the existence of the broader network that had been revealed through analysis of the Valethorn documents. However, investigations of these other properties revealed that they had also been abandoned during the same general time period as the Valethorn departure, indicating that the entire network had implemented coordinated relocation procedures in response to whatever factors had necessitated their withdrawal from the Appalachian region. Captain Morrison's final report, filed with state authorities in June 1889, concluded that the Valethorn family had been operating a legitimate commercial enterprise that, while unusual in its scope and methods, did not appear to have involved any clearly illegal activities. The report noted that the family's sudden departure, while mysterious, appeared to have been voluntary and carefully planned rather than the result of any criminal activity or outside coercion. However, the report also acknowledged that significant questions remained unanswered about the family's activities and their ultimate destination following their departure from West Virginia. The sophisticated nature of their operations and the substantial wealth they had accumulated suggested involvement in markets or activities that were not readily apparent to conventional business analysis of that era. The report recommended that the case remain open pending any new information that might emerge about the family's whereabouts or activities, but acknowledged that the thorough planning evident in their departure made it unlikely that such information would become available through conventional investigative methods. The Valethorn property remained abandoned for several years following the family's disappearance. The house and outbuildings gradually showed signs of weather damage, though the solid construction ensured that the structures remained fundamentally sound. Local residents showed little interest in acquiring the property, perhaps influenced by the mysterious circumstances of the family's departure and speculation about their activities. In 1894, the property was purchased by a lumber company that intended to harvest the extensive timber holdings that had been part of the Valethorn estate. However, the company's operations were limited to the forested areas, and the house and immediate grounds were left undisturbed. Workers employed by the lumber company reported feeling uncomfortable when working near the abandoned house, though they attributed their unease to the general atmosphere of the deserted property rather than any specific concerns. The lumber company's operations on the Valethorn property continued for several years, providing employment for local residents and contributing to the economic development of the region. However, the company never expressed any interest in utilizing the house or the specialized facilities that the Valethorn family had constructed, apparently finding these structures unsuitable for their operational needs. During their work on the property, lumber company employees occasionally discovered additional evidence of the Valethorn family's activities. These discoveries included processing equipment that had been concealed in various locations throughout the forested portions of the property, as well as storage facilities that had been built into natural formations and camouflaged to avoid detection. The lumber company reported these discoveries to local authorities, who conducted brief investigations but found nothing that provided new insights into the family's disappearance or their ultimate destination. The additional evidence did confirm the sophisticated nature of the Valethorn operation and the extent to which the family had integrated their business activities with the natural features of their mountain property. The house itself was finally purchased in 1902 by a retired merchant from Virginia who intended to use it as a summer residence. However, the new owner occupied the property for only a few months before deciding to sell it again, citing the isolated location and what he described as an oppressive atmosphere that made comfortable residence impossible. The merchant's brief occupancy of the Valethorn house provided additional insights into the property's unusual characteristics. He reported that the house seemed to amplify sounds in unexpected ways, creating acoustic effects that made normal conversation difficult in certain rooms. He also noted that the temperature in various parts of the house seemed to fluctuate unpredictably, despite the solid construction that should have provided consistent climate control. More unsettling to the merchant was his discovery that some of the concealed chambers within the house had apparently been overlooked during previous investigations. These additional spaces contained equipment and materials that provided further evidence of the Valethorn family's commercial activities, but which also raised new questions about the exact nature of their business operations. Subsequent owners of the property reported similar experiences, with most occupying the house for only brief periods before deciding to seek other accommodations. These reports consistently mentioned a sense of unease or discomfort that seemed to permeate the buildings, though no specific problems or dangers could be identified. The pattern of brief occupancy by successive owners contributed to local speculation about the Valethorn property and the family's mysterious departure. Some residents suggested that the family had been involved in activities that had left some form of lingering influence on the property, though these suggestions were generally dismissed as superstition by more practical-minded individuals. In 1923, nearly 35 years after the Valethorn family's disappearance, a discovery was made that renewed interest in their case. A man identifying himself as Zachariah Valethorn was found operating a business in Charleston, South Carolina, that appeared to involve activities similar to those that had been conducted at the West Virginia mountain property. The discovery occurred when local authorities investigated reports of unusual activities at a warehouse facility that the man had established on the outskirts of Charleston. The investigation revealed sophisticated processing and storage facilities that showed remarkable similarities to the concealed chambers that had been found at the original Valethorn property in West Virginia. The Charleston facility incorporated many of the same architectural features and operational characteristics that had distinguished the mountain property, including sophisticated ventilation systems, precise environmental controls, and elaborate security arrangements. The similarity of these features suggested either that this was indeed Zachariah Valethorn or that someone had obtained detailed knowledge of his previous operations. However, the man claiming to be Zachariah Valethorn refused to provide any information about his background or to confirm any connection to the West Virginia family. Physical appearance and age were consistent with what Zachariah Valethorn might have looked like after 35 years, but definitive identification proved impossible given the limitations of records from that era. The Charleston investigation was ultimately discontinued when the man voluntarily ceased his business operations and left the area before any formal charges could be filed. Local authorities were unable to identify any specific legal violations in his activities, though the investigation confirmed that his operations followed patterns remarkably similar to those that had been documented at the Valethorn Mountain property. Whether this man was actually Zachariah Valethorn or someone who had adopted his identity remains unknown. However, the incident suggested that at least some elements of the business network that had included the Valethorn family might have continued operating in different locations under new arrangements. The Charleston incident also suggested that the commercial activities that the Valethorn family had been engaged in during their years in West Virginia continued to be profitable and viable in other locations and under different circumstances. This possibility raised questions about whether other members of their original network had also successfully established new operations in other parts of the country. During the 1930s, federal investigators conducting research into historical commercial networks became interested in the Valethorn case as part of a broader study of regional economic development during the late 19th century. This research provided access to additional documents and records that had not been available to earlier investigators, offering new insights into the family's activities and connections. The federal research revealed that the Valethorn family had been part of a commercial network that extended far beyond the Appalachian region, with connections to business interests located throughout the United States and even in some foreign countries. This network had been engaged in activities that involved the processing and distribution of specialized materials for markets that were not widely known or understood at the time. The research also revealed that similar networks had been operating in other regions of the country during the same period, suggesting that the Valethorn operation was part of a much larger pattern of commercial development that had not been well documented by conventional business historians of the era. Analysis of financial records and commercial correspondence indicated that these networks had been generating substantial profits through their specialized activities, contributing significantly to regional economic development and individual wealth accumulation during the period. The success of these operations helped explain the prosperity that families like the Valethorns had been able to achieve despite their remote locations and apparent isolation from conventional commercial centers. During the 1950s, Dr. Robert Henley of West Virginia University conducted an extensive historical study of the Valethorn case as part of his research into commercial activities in isolated Appalachian communities during the late 19th century. Dr. Henley's research included interviews with elderly residents who had known the Valethorn family and examination of additional documents that had become available in various archives. Dr. Henley's research revealed that the Valethorn family had been well regarded by their neighbors, who remembered them as quiet, prosperous people who kept to themselves but were always courteous and helpful when interaction was necessary. None of the people interviewed recalled any suspicious activities or concerns about the family's business dealings. Several residents mentioned that the family had seemed particularly knowledgeable about business and financial matters, with Zachariah Valethorn often providing advice to neighbors about market conditions, investment opportunities, and commercial trends. This expertise had been appreciated by the community and had contributed to the family's reputation as successful and knowledgeable people. Dr. Henley's interviews also revealed that the family had been generous in their support of local community activities, contributing to church fundraising efforts, providing assistance to neighbors during difficult times, and participating in cooperative activities such as barn raisings and harvest celebrations when their schedules permitted such involvement. The portrait that emerged from Dr. Henley's research was of a family that had successfully integrated into their mountain community while maintaining their specialized business activities. Their ability to balance these different aspects of their lives suggested remarkable organizational skills and social awareness that had allowed them to thrive in their chosen environment. Dr. Henley's research also uncovered additional correspondence and business records that provided further insights into the Valethorn family's commercial activities. These documents confirmed that the family had been involved in legitimate business operations involving the processing and distribution of materials that were in demand in specialized markets throughout the eastern states. The nature of these materials appeared to be related to mountain resources that could be processed using specialized techniques to enhance their value for specific applications. The Valethorn family had apparently developed expertise in these processing methods and had established relationships with suppliers and buyers that allowed them to operate a profitable business from their isolated mountain location. The correspondence revealed that the family had been particularly skilled at identifying emerging market opportunities and developing innovative approaches to meeting specialized demand. Their success in this area had contributed to their ability to generate substantial profits while operating from a location that would have been challenging for conventional commercial activities. Dr. Henley's analysis suggested that the family's sudden departure in 1888 might have been motivated by changes in market conditions or regulatory environments that made their particular type of business operations less profitable or more difficult to conduct from their West Virginia location. The careful planning evident in their departure indicated that they had anticipated such changes and had prepared alternative arrangements for continuing their business activities in other locations. The academic study of the Valethorn case contributed to improved understanding of the diverse commercial activities that had developed in isolated Appalachian communities during the late 19th century. The case demonstrated that remote mountain locations could serve as bases for sophisticated business operations that connected local resources and expertise with distant markets and opportunities. The Valethorn case also illustrated the entrepreneurial capabilities of mountain residents who were able to identify and exploit commercial opportunities that were not apparent to conventional business observers. The family's success in developing and operating their enterprise suggested that isolated communities possessed resources and capabilities that were often overlooked by economic analysts of that era. The study also revealed the importance of specialized knowledge and technical expertise in the development of successful commercial enterprises during this period. The Valethorn family's apparent mastery of particular processing techniques and market relationships had been crucial to their success and had enabled them to compete effectively with larger and better capitalized operations located in more conventional commercial centers. Dr. Henley's research contributed to a broader understanding of the economic and social dynamics that had shaped Appalachian communities during the late 19th century. The case provided evidence of the diverse strategies that mountain families had employed to achieve prosperity and security in challenging geographical and economic circumstances. The Valethorn property was finally demolished in 1961 as part of a federal land acquisition program that incorporated the area into what is now part of the Monongahela National Forest. Before demolition, a final examination of the property was conducted by federal archaeologists who documented the architectural features and recovered any remaining materials of historical significance. The archaeological examination confirmed the sophisticated nature of the concealed chambers and passages that had been discovered during the original investigation. The precision of the construction and the careful integration of these features with the overall design of the house demonstrated remarkable engineering and architectural expertise. The examination also yielded additional documents and materials that had been concealed in locations not discovered during the earlier investigations. These materials provided further confirmation of the Valethorn family's extensive business activities and their connections to commercial networks operating throughout multiple states. Among the most significant discoveries was a detailed journal maintained by Isadora Valethorn that documented daily activities at the mountain property over a period of several years. This journal provided valuable insights into the family's routine operations and their methods for conducting their business activities, while maintaining the appearance of a conventional rural household. The journal entries revealed that the family had maintained careful schedules for various activities related to their business operations, with specific times and procedures for receiving materials, conducting processing activities, and preparing shipments for distribution to buyers. The precision and consistency of these operations demonstrated the systematic nature of their commercial enterprise. Isadora's journal also documented the family's social interactions with their neighbors and their efforts to maintain good relationships within the local community. The entries showed that the family had been genuinely concerned about their standing in the community and had worked to ensure that their business activities did not create problems or concerns for their neighbors. The journal provided insights into the family's personal relationships and their individual personalities that had not been available from earlier sources. Isadora emerged from her writings as an intelligent and thoughtful woman who had been deeply involved in the family's business activities, while also maintaining responsibility for household management and community relationships. Serafina's role in the family's business operations was also clarified by her mother's journal entries. The young woman had apparently been responsible for maintaining the extensive correspondence that was crucial to their commercial activities, as well as managing many of the detailed records that tracked their operations and financial performance. The journal also revealed that Zachariah Valethorn had been developing plans for the family's eventual retirement from active business operations, with the goal of transitioning to a more conventional lifestyle supported by investments made with their accumulated profits. These retirement plans had been under development for several years before their departure from West Virginia. The final entry in Isadora's journal, dated November 10, 1888, provided the most direct insight into the family's departure from West Virginia. The entry indicated that the family had received confirmation that their planned transition to new operations in a different location would proceed as scheduled, and that they were prepared to leave their mountain home after 17 years of successful business activities. The journal entry expressed some sadness about leaving the mountain property, which had served them well and where they had built a comfortable life, but also expressed anticipation about the opportunities that would be available in their new location. The entry concluded with a note that all preparations had been completed, and that the family was ready to begin the next chapter of their lives and business operations. Today, more than 130 years after the Valethorn family's disappearance, the location of their former mountain property is marked only by a small clearing in the national forest. The sophisticated business operations they conducted from that remote location have become part of the historical record, demonstrating the diverse commercial activities that developed in Appalachian communities during the late 19th century. The case continues to be studied by historians and economists as an example of entrepreneurial adaptation to challenging geographical and economic conditions. The Valethorn family's ability to develop profitable business operations from an isolated mountain location while maintaining good relationships with their community represents a remarkable achievement in rural commercial development. The family's ultimate fate remains unknown, though evidence suggests that they successfully established new operations in a different location and continued their business activities under changed circumstances. Their careful planning and systematic approach to their transition from West Virginia demonstrated the same expertise and attention to detail that had made their mountain operations successful. The thousands of pages of documents, records, and correspondence left behind by the Valethorn family provide valuable insights into commercial methods and business networks that operated in the late 19th century. These materials continue to be available to researchers studying the economic and social history of Appalachian communities during this period. The Valethorn case serves as a reminder that even the most isolated communities could serve as bases for sophisticated commercial activities that connected local resources and expertise with national and international markets. The family's success in developing and operating their business from a remote mountain location demonstrates the entrepreneurial opportunities that existed for individuals with the knowledge, skills, and determination to overcome geographical challenges. The mystery surrounding the family's departure adds an element of intrigue to their story, but the evidence suggests that their disappearance was simply the result of careful business planning rather than any criminal activity or outside coercion. Their ability to execute their planned transition so completely that they left virtually no trace of their destination represents remarkable organizational capability and attention to detail. The mountain valleys of West Virginia have witnessed many stories of families who came seeking opportunities and built successful lives in challenging circumstances. The Valethorn family story is distinctive for the scale and sophistication of the business operations they developed, but it shares with many other Appalachian families the themes of adaptation, persistence, and ultimate success in pursuing their goals despite geographical and economic obstacles. Perhaps somewhere in America today, descendants of the Valethorn family continue to benefit from the wealth and business expertise that Zachariah, Isadora, and Serafina accumulated during their 17 years in the West Virginia mountains. Their story serves as a testament to the possibilities that existed for entrepreneurial families willing to work systematically toward their goals, even in the most challenging and isolated circumstances. The silence of the mountain valley where they once lived has returned to its natural state, but the records they left behind continue to speak to the ingenuity and determination that characterize their approach to business and life. Their legacy lies not in any mystery surrounding their departure, but in their demonstration that, with knowledge, planning, and persistence, even the most remote locations could serve as bases for remarkable commercial achievements. The investigation of the Valethorn case also contributed to the development of improved methods for documenting and analyzing historical commercial activities. The extensive records maintained by the family provided researchers with unprecedented insights into the operational details of 19th century business enterprises, contributing to better understanding of economic development patterns during this period. The case continues to influence contemporary research into rural economic development and entrepreneurial activity in geographically isolated communities. The strategies employed by the Valethorn family to overcome the challenges of their remote location remain relevant for modern studies of rural business development and community economic planning.